Assalamualaikum everyone, I am Shawar Zara and I hope you all are fine and safe. Today our topic of discussion is methods to study proteomics. The methods that we will be studying in these lectures are two-dimensional electrophorese, isotope coded affinity tag, that is ICAT, stable isotope labeling with amino acids in cell culture, that is SILAC, and isobaric tag for relative and absolute quantitation, ITRAQ. These are the abbreviations. Moreover, we will be also discussing these methods that are large-scale Western blotting proteome analysis, multidimensional protein identification technology, protein microarray technology, and mass spectrometry. We will discuss all these methods one by one in detail in the successive slides. Before we discuss our first method, let's take a brief overview of the term proteomics that we have discussed in our previous lecture. So the term proteomics, it basically describes the study and the characterization of complete set of proteins that are present in a cell, organ or organism at given time. And in general, proteomic approaches, they can be used for proteome profiling, number one. Number two, for comparative expression analysis of two or more proteins. Number three, for the localization and identification of post-translational modifications. And number four, for the study of protein-protein interaction. So this was the brief overview of the proteomics and why we study proteomics. Now let's move towards our first method, that is two-dimensional electrophoresis. And in this method, we will discuss the limitations and advantages and technical limitations of two-dimensional electrophoresis. Two-dimensional electrophoresis, it was developed 2 decades before the term proteomics was coined, and the two-dimensional electrophoresis, it basically entails the separation of complete protein mixture by molecular charge in the first dimension and by mass in the second dimension. It means that this two-dimensional electrophoresis, it works in the 2 dimensions. Two-dimensional electrophoresis analysis provides several types of information about the hundreds of protein investigated simultaneously, including the molecular weight and quantity as well as the possible post-translation modifications. Now let's discuss the limitations of this two-dimensional electrophoresis. Two-dimensional electrophoresis is extensively used but mostly for qualitative experiments, and this method falls short in its reproducibility. Inability to detect low abundant and hydrophobic proteins means this 2DE is not able to detect low abundant and hydrophobic proteins. Moreover, it has low sensitivity in identifying proteins with pH value too low, that is pH 3. If the proteins that have pH 3, this 2DE will not identify it, and those proteins that have the pH as high as 10, likewise this 2DE will also not able to identify that. Moreover, it is also unable to identify the proteins that have molecular masses that are too small or too large, and this molecular mass can be as small as 10 kD and as large as 150 kD. Moreover, poor separation of basic proteins due to streaking of spots and membrane protein resolution are limiting factors in this 2DE. However, 2DE is the only technique that can be routinely applied for parallel quantitative expression profiling of complex protein mixtures such as whole and tissue lysates. So these were the limitations of this 2DE method. Now let's discuss the advantages. So the first advantage is that it allows the parallel quantitative expression profiling of complex protein mixtures such as whole cell and tissue lysates, and it is most widely used method for efficiently separating proteins, their variants and modifications. So these were the 2 advantages. Then you have the post-translation modification. There are 2 ways to study post-translation modification by means of 2DE or two-dimensional electrophoresis. First, post-translation modification, it alters the molecular weight or the PI of the protein. PI basically stands for isoelectric point, and this isoelectric point is basically the pH of the solution at which the net charge of the protein it becomes 0. And at solution pH that is above the isoelectric point, the surface of the protein it is predominantly negatively charged, and therefore light charged molecules, they will exhibit repulsive forces. So this is basically the isoelectric point. So we will discussing that this post-translation modification, they alter the molecular weight or the isoelectric point of a protein, and it is reflected in the shift in the location of corresponding protein spot on the proteomic pattern. Second way is that in the combination with the Western blotting antibody specific for post-translation modification. They can reveal spots on 2DE patterns containing protein with their modification. Protein extraction and solubilization, they are key steps for proteomic analysis using 2DE. Highly hydrophobic proteins tend to, what happen to them is that they tend to precipitate during isoelectric focusing, IEF. Low copy number and the insolubility of transmembrane proteins, they render quantitative analysis of these peptides and polypeptides. So this was the advantages and how the post-translation modification they are being determined and by means of the 2DE. In order to enhance protein extraction and solubilization, different treatments and conditions they are necessary to efficiently solubilize different types of protein extracts. And the major challenge that is being faced is for the protein visualization in the 2DE, and it is basically the compatibility of sensitive protein staining methods with mass spectrometric analysis. Therefore, several fluorescent staining methods they have been developed for the visualization of 2DE patterns, including Cypro staining and the CY dyes. Although Cypro, Ruby and silver staining they have comparable sensitivity, but this Cypro Ruby containing staining, it basically allows much higher reproducibility. Number one, it is the advantage of it. Number two is that it is significantly wider dynamic range, and third is that it has less false positive staining. It results in less false positive staining, and in addition, Cypro Ruby, it allows the detection of lipoproteins, glycoproteins, metalloproteins, calcium binding proteins, fibril proteins and low molecular weight proteins, and that are less stainable using other methods. So you can see that how this Cypro staining is advantageous in this process. So that was all about the 2DE. Now we will see an overview of the proteomic strategies. So the proteomic strategies, you can see that there is expression proteomics, structural proteomics and functional proteomics that we have discussed in the previous lecture. And then there are different methods, that is gel based proteomics, organelle proteomics, shotgun proteomics. This we will discuss in the successive slides. And there is 2DE that we have discussed. There are labeling methods, protein array, and all the other methods that we are seeing here we will be discussing in the later in the successive slides. The next method that you have, it is the isotope coded affinity tag, ICAT. It is abbreviated as this. Gel-free or MS-based proteomic techniques, they are emerging as the methods of choice for quantitatively comparing proteins level among biological proteomes. And these are being used because they are more sensitive and reproducible than two-dimensional gel-based methods. ICAT is one of the most employed chemical isotope labeling method and the first quantitative proteomic method to be based solely on using MS. Here MS stands for basically the mass spectrometry. It is abbreviation of mass spectrometry. Each ICAT reagent, it consists of three essential groups. The number one is a thiol reactive group, number two an isotope coded light or heavy linker, and number three is a biotin segment to facilitate peptide enrichment. So these are the three essential groups that is a part of the ICAT reagents. Now let's discuss the steps that are included in this ICAT method. So in an ICAT experiment, protein samples they are first labeled with either light or heavy ICAT reagents on cysteine thiols. So this is the first step. Then the mixtures of labeled proteins, they are then digested by trypsin and they are separated through a multi-step chromatographic separation procedure. So you can see that the digestion and the separation took place. Then what happened is that the peptides they identify with tandem MS. MS means that the mass spectrometry. This tandem MS is basically a technique for protein analysis, and this tandem mass spectrometry, it is basically the abbreviation of this, and this tandem mass spectrometry, it is also named as MS by MS, and it is a two-step technique, and it is used to analyze a sample either by using two or more mass spectrometers, and these mass spectrometers, they are connected to each other, or it may contain a single mass spectrometer by several analyzers that are arranged one after the other. So that's why this is used, and it is used for the instrumental analysis. So this was the tandem mass. So we were discussing that the peptides, they are identified with tandem MS, that is mass spectrometry, and then the relative quantification of peptides, they are inferred from the integrated LC peak areas of the heavy and light variants. LC here stands for liquid chromatography, and the ICAT concept, it has been widely used after its introduction. Different software programs were developed to analyze ICAT labeled MS data, and these softwares were like Pro ICAT from Applied Biosystem, Spectrum Mill from Agilent Technologies, and Sashimi from the Institute of System Biology. This ICAT, it is extremely helpful to detect peptides with low expression levels. It is one of the advantage of this, and this low expression level, it is basically one of the bottleneck issues in analytic protein techniques that has been overcome by this ICAT technique. Major limitations of this technique include selective detection of proteins with high cysteine content and difficulties in the detection of acidic proteins. And the methods for direct comparison of DIGE and ICAT for the identification and quantification of protein in the complex biological mixtures, they are also being considered. So this was the entire process of how the proteomics, it is being studied through isotope coded affinity tag. The next technique is stable isotope labeling with amino acid in cell culture, that is LAC, it is abbreviated as this. And while the ICAT reagent, it only interacts with the free sulfhydryl of homocysteine, but 8% of the protein is non-cysteine. Not all the proteins are cysteine, 8% are non-cysteine. So this SILAC, it has emerged as a valuable proteomic technique for this purpose, and it has become more common for cell types that have been applied in many fields. The SILAC technique, it can be effectively expanded to compare the differential expression of tissue proteome at different pathological states, and it also allows to identify new candidate biomarkers. Compared with ICAT that we have discussed previously, a popular that is, and this ICAT, it is basically an in vitro labeling. This SILAC, it is an example of in vivo coding, and it requires no chemical manipulation, and there is very little chemical difference between the isotopically labeled amino acid and its naturally occurring counterpart. In addition, the amount of the labeled proteins required for analysis using SILAC technique is far less than with the ICAT. It means that the label proteins that are required in the SILAC, that is your stable isotope labeling with amino acid in cell culture, it is far less than the ICAT. Therefore, for this purpose and for this reason, this SILAC based method, it has broadly applied in many areas of cell biology and proteomics. So this is one of the advantage of this stable isotope labeling with amino acid in cell culture. And if I discuss here the definition of this stable isotope labeling with amino acid in cell culture, if I summarize it, it is basically a technique that is based on mass spectrometry, and the function of this technique, or the you can say the purpose of this technique, is that it detects differences in protein abundance among samples using non-radioactive isotopic labeling, and it is basically the popular method for quantitative proteomics. Apart from its application in the comparative or differential proteomics, this SILAC has been used widely in analyzing protein post-translation modifications such as protein phosphorylation, detection of protein-protein or peptide-protein interaction, and investigating signal transduction pathways. So these are some of the advantages of this stable isotope labeling with amino acid in cell culture, that is your SILAC. Now we will discuss the steps that are involved in this methodology. So the first step is that the cells are grown in a culture medium, and in this culture medium the natural form of an amino acid, it is replaced with the stable isotope form such as arginine bearing 6 carbon 13 atoms. Then incorporation of the heavy amino acid occurs through cell growth, protein synthesis and turnover. This SILAC, it basically allows light and heavy proteomes to be distinguished by the mass spectrometry while avoiding any chemical derivatization and associative purification. So this is how this entire technique it functions, and this is how this stable isotope labeling by amino acid in cell culture is being carried out. Your next technique is 18O stable isotope labeling. This 18O is basically oxygen 18, and this oxygen 18 is a natural stable isotope of oxygen and one of the environmental isotopes. And you know, this oxygen 18, it is an important precursor for the production of fluorodeoxyglucose that is used in positron emission tomography. So we will discuss that how this technique is being used, or this methodology is being used in proteomics. This 18O stable isotope labeling, or you can say this differential cysteine or 18O coding, it basically relies on the 18 oxygen exchange that takes place at the C-terminal carboxyl group of proteolytic fragments. And what happened at this C-terminal carboxyl group is that two cysteine oxygen atoms, they are oxygen cysteine atoms, are typically replaced by two oxygen 18 atoms by enzyme that catalyzes the oxygen exchange in the presence of H2O18. The resulting mass shift that takes place between differentially labeled peptide ions, what they do is that they permit identification, characterization and quantitation of the proteins from which the peptides are proteolytically generated. In contrast to the ICAT 18 oxygen labeling, it does not favor peptides that contain certain amino acid, for example cysteine, and we have discussed that this ICAT, it basically favors the amino acid that contains cysteine. And moreover, nor does this 18 oxygen stable isotope labeling, it does not require an additional affinity step to enrich for these peptides. So this is the process of oxygen 18 stable isotope labeling, through which the quantitation of protein, characterization and quantitation of protein is being carried out. The next technique that we will be discussing is the isobaric tag for relative and absolute quantitation. ITRAQ is the abbreviation of this methodology. So the ITRAQ reagent, it is well known for relative and absolute quantitation of the proteins, and this ITRAQ technology, it offers several advantages, which are: number one, it includes the ability to multiplex several samples. Number two advantage of this technology is the quantification. Number three is the simplified analysis, and number four is the increased analytical precision and accuracy. And the interest of this multiplexing reagent is that the 4 or 8 analysis samples, they can be quantified simultaneously in this technique. In this technique, the introduction of stable isotope using ITRAQ reagents, it occurs on level of proteolytic peptides, and this technology, it basically uses an NHS ester derivative to modify primary amino acid group. And how I do is that it basically do it by linking a mass balance group and the reported group to the proteolytic peptide by the formation of a amide bond. This ITRAQ, it is basically a shotgun based quantitation technique, and it is also referred to as a bottom up approach, and it allows the concurrent identification and relative quantification of hundreds of proteins in up to 8 different biological samples. So it is one of the biggest advantage of this technique, because it allows the quantification of hundreds of proteins in up to 8 different biological samples in a single experiment. What happens in this technique is that the digested samples, they are labeled with the 8-plex ITRAQ reagents, that are 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 119, 120 and 121, and then the sample is pooled and prepared for MS by MS, and that is your tandem mass spectrometry. After that, database research, it is being carried out for the result analysis. This database search, it is then performed using the fragmentation data to identify the labeled peptides and hence the corresponding proteins, and the fragmentation of the attached tag, it generates a low molecular mass reporter ion that can be used to relatively quantify the peptides and the proteins from which they are generated. So basically what happened in this technique is that it uses stable isotope label molecules that can be covalent bonded to the N terminus and the side chain amines of the proteins. So this is how this isobaric tags for relative and absolute quantitation it functions. So here is basically the diagrammatic representation of how this ITRAQ work. And so the first is that 4 accurately quantified protein samples, they are taken. You can see here that are in yellow, pink, blue and red color. Then reduction of alkylate takes place, and then digestion with trypsin takes place, and this is done in order to produce peptide pools. Then they are labeled, each peptide pool is labeled with ITRAQ reagent that we have discussed, and these are the 4, that is 114, 115, 116 and 117. Then you can see the pooled peptide sample, then cation stain fractionation takes place, that usually around 20 to 30 fractions. Then the nano LC liquid chromatography MS, that is your basically the liquid chromatography, and the tandem mass spectrometry. MS basically, MS by MS stands for tandem mass spectrometry and LC stands for liquid chromatography, and it is done for 3 hours for each contained fraction. Then the quantification takes place and the identification is done. So you can see that how this entire process takes place. So these were some of the methods that are being used in proteomics, and you can see that how these methods, they are basically advantageous in characterizing and in quantification of the proteins that are found in living organism, and each technique function has a different principle and a different way through which it is being performed. So I hope that what we have discussed, the methods that we have discussed in today's lecture, you have understood it. And if you want to study all these things in the written form and see the diagram by zooming it more, then you can visit this site. Thank you for watching. Allah Hafiz.